Yeah, let's go.
Hey, welcome to Youth Force Chronicles, the podcast for teens by teens, where we learn about jobs and careers. Today, we are interviewing Bill Harper. What does he do? Let's find out.
Are you ready?
All right. So we're going to start with some fun facts here. Bill, if you'd like to go first.
Sure. What would you like me to answer for you?
Oh,
Just give a fun fact about yourself or an anecdote. And if you don't give one, then I will give one for you.
Ooh. All right. You know what? I'm tempted. All right, go ahead. Give me one. Give me one, and we'll go from there.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I guess I'll prompt one. What is the coolest place you've ever been to?
Let's see. Coolest place that I've ever been to was off of a glacier in Alaska. That was pretty cool. Or salmon fishing. There was a bear about 10 feet off the boat. No, there was a bear off the boat about 10 feet. It was awesome.
That's just terrifying.
Yeah, it was cool.
It's one of those places. It sounds so cool, but
Until you
so
actually go
terrifying.
there, until you realize that like moose are like 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
If
Scary.
that, probably more.
Yeah, you know
Here.
what? You're probably right. But so how did you manage to get like off the side of a glacier?
Well, it wasn't on the glacier. We were on a cruise ship that was heading past it.
Oh, well, I'm glad it didn't go all Titanic on you, and glad you're here.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So,
Yeah.
you go next for the fun fact. Give me
Oh,
a
fun fact about myself. Let's see. I recently went on a trip to Washington D.C. It was my first time going. It was pretty incredible.
I went there.
Did you do the mall and the whole did you stay downtown?
No, we did a lot of this stuff. We did most of the what do they call it? The place with all the buildings, the mall, something. Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
said that.
Just asked.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even think of it like that, but yeah, we did most of the things on that list. We missed a couple, but
The museums
a lot
and stuff.
bigger than Google Earth would have you to believe.
Yeah, did you go to any of the museums?
We went to a few of them. There are a lot more than
They-
you think.
Yeah, they have a ton of really cool museums.
We
I went there with my stepdad's band right as COVID hit, so like everything was shutting down around us. It was terrible. Don't go during COVID. Of course, you'd have to time travel for that, but still, don't do that.
Don't do it.
What about you?
Fun
about
fact
yourself.
for me. Where do I want to go with this? Do I want to go with something like outrageous or keep it normal?
I don't know, because having to do this every single time, you're gonna need to save the good ones for later.
I know. Well, I mean, why can't I use one of the good ones now?
I think you should.
Go ahead.
As a brand guy, I'll say nobody, be interesting or be ignored. Go for it.
Okay.
Go for it.
I have terrible luck with engines. I've gone through 3 car engines in 2
3?
years. Yeah.
In 2 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that is
My first one was a 1996 Honda Civic, and it blew up. And then one of my Volkswagen engines blew.
that's only 2.
Yeah, and then we had to do a bunch of work on the other one that's currently in the Volkswagen. Fun
You
times.
need a really good mechanic friend.
You really
We have some. We have some.
Good.
do. Yeah, you better.
I got a question for you.
Yeah, what you got?
What kind of car do you drive?
Porsche 911 convertible.
Wow. Okay.
Not bad, not bad.
That's like one of my dream cars.
Listen, if you got to get groceries, I highly recommend it.
Getting the Porsche for the grocery getter.
That's it.
I don't have a car yet, but that would be pretty cool. I don't know if it'll be my first one, but
Yeah.
maybe I can work up to it.
You wouldn't want it as your first car,
That would be.
because then where you go? Then you got like Lamborghini, Ferrari left. You're like, all right, I can go left, I can go right.
You don't want to downgrade to a
See,
Honda.
that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't want to go to that and then be like, oh, look, a Jetta, right? Like, that's not.
Yeah.
Whoa, the Volkswagen Jettas are really nice. I'd love one of those.
Yeah, I don't know. You gotta like work up. Eventually, you'll get the Porsche eventually.
Oh, I'll
The
get there.
GTI though is the most fun like sports car.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you like slinging your car around and having fun, but still having enough flexibility that you can take just about anything or anyone with you, the GTI is a wonderfully underestimated car.
All right. I'll keep that in mind. So I gotta ask, you mentioned that you were in branding. How did you get into that?
So I came out of high school with a number of different things that I was a part of. I was in an engineering pilot program. I was doing theater. I was writing code programs back then. So there were like a number of things that I was really interested in. Some of them were math and business focused. Some of them were theater and writing focused. And I was trying to find something that brought all of those ideas together, and advertising was it. There's a component of all of that that's necessary to do advertising well. So it was like I got to play with all the crayons that I liked, So it wasn't just, okay, I have to just focus on the math component, which is where I started, which was going to school for mechanical engineering to work on cars, obviously. And then when I wound up figuring out what advertising was all about, like I just fell madly in love with it, and I was off to the races.
So is it like your first job, or did you work a couple of other jobs before you finally got into this industry?
No, that was right out of college. So this is what I have done my whole career.
Oh, wow. So you found something that you love and you just stuck with it. That's awesome.
Yeah. And the thing that's nice is the scenery changes, right? So one day you'll work on selling luggage, and then the next day you'll sell sunglasses, and then the next day you'll sell like a health care group that does like telemedicine, and then the next day you'll sell shoes. And I mean, it's like I said, the scenery changes. It's always something interesting and something different. So you don't really have a chance to get bored, which is great. So you're always learning something new. You're always meeting new people. I mean, it's always a new challenge, which is great.
I'm sure that's pretty awesome, getting able to do just a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And
you really did, you struck your pot of gold.
I did. Yeah. Yeah. And I had absolutely no idea when I left high school what it was that I wanted to do. None whatsoever. And I think a lot of people don't.
That tends to seem how, I don't know what I'm saying. It tends to be how things go for most people. I've changed back and forth the past few years, and I just don't know yet. But
what year are you?
I'm a junior.
You're perfectly right on track. Fear not. Right where you're supposed to be.
I have somewhat of an idea of what I'd like to do, but it's still, in the works. Huh. Where did you go to college?
I went to college at Northern Illinois University. So it's about 90 miles outside of Chicago proper.
Okay, that's cool.
So do you live in Illinois?
No, I'm actually in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Oh, no way. My grandma lives out over near there. She lives out in the middle of nowhere, but still near that area, about 30 minutes from Raleigh.
Mm-hmm.
Go over there a lot.
It's a nice place.
That seems very interesting.
Have you looked at any colleges yet?
I don't know. I've looked at a couple. I'm probably just gonna stay local. I mean, I've thought about going other places, but I don't know. It's just they're either too far or too expensive, or I don't know. I kind of like just staying at home.
You like little old Cleveland?
There's not much, but what is here, it's pretty nice. So yeah, I'll probably stay.
You got a lot of good stuff in Ohio.
Oh yeah, I wish we were in Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh, where are you? I'm sorry.
We're in Cleveland, Tennessee.
Oh, in Cleveland, Tennessee.
Yeah, we're about 30 minutes outside Chattanooga.
Oh, very good. I lived in Memphis for a while when I was young.
Oh, good old Music City over there.
That's Nashville.
That's Nashville. Wait, no, what is Memphis is home of Elvis, right?
Yeah, Beale Street and Elvis, right. Beale Street and Elvis.
Why isn't the home of Elvis not the Music City? Why is it Nashville?
You know what? That's an excellent question. I think because of the Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah, that's probably it.
Well, I disagree with them.
You're allowed to do that. That's the beautiful thing about opinions. They're always welcome.
Yeah, we're the far less known Cleveland.
I got you.
We have good old Boo Carter who plays for Tennessee now.
See? You guys are famous.
Yeah, it's
something
pretty
like
much.
Doc, you should definitely try and spread your wings and go. A change of scene is an amazing part of the education process. If you get a chance to go out of state or even further away from home, then like if you can't easily drive home to do laundry, it's probably just far enough.
Yeah, I don't know. It's really confusing for me because I've never done something like that before.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, people usually don't move out before college, but
Yeah,
it'll definitely be different whatever I decide to do.
for sure.
Because the ones that I want to go to out of state, they're out of state quite a bit too. So
Where are you looking at that's out of state?
I don't know. I think for some reason, I really like the colleges in Virginia. There are several there that are just really good, and I don't know why. They're just really good at education up there.
Are you gonna,
Virginia Tech is awesome.
Virginia Tech is pretty good, or Liberty University too. I've been thinking about that, and I want to do music, so maybe going up to Juilliard in New York, maybe.
There you go.
well, if you are seriously dead set on staying in Cleveland, then Lee is awesome for music.
I know. That's what people say, so I might just stick with that.
All right. So moving on to our next question that we have for you, we gotta know, like, what was your very first job? Like in high
First
school?
job was a Whopper Flopper at Burger King when I was 15. More interesting question is, what is the weirdest job that I have? And the weirdest job that I ever had was chimney sweep, which I did in college.
Chimney, like that's still a thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought
actual-
that like it was just like a made up thing in Mary Poppins.
No, chimney sweep is a real deal. If you don't want your house to burn down, you got to have your chimney swept
People
out.
putting their chimneys.
I don't know many people that have a chimney.
It's like the dirtiest job ever, too. I would buy clothes
Yeah, I would imagine.
on Saturday at the Goodwill and then throw them away Sunday night.
So how does one get into chimney sweeping?
So there was a guy on my floor back before I owned businesses who was super entrepreneurial in college. And he figured out that he could buy a rickety van and some chimney brushes and a couple of ladders and some good shoes. And we could go out and make a bunch of money sweeping out chimneys. And so he would go to the top and he would take the brushes and sort of like work his way down the chimney. And then I would be at the bottom, and my job was to clean out all the crease out that he knocked out of the chimney. So it was top and bottom, and we went into these environments, and like I would seal up all the thing, and sometimes we had to pull raccoons out of there, and sometimes it was crazy.
What I'm hearing is he literally gave you the dirty work. Like
He did give me the dirty work, but when you think about, at the time, a good job was paying $7 an hour, and I was making 20. So, when you think about back then, so the job that I had was, I was good on the phones. And so he would give me a phone book that was by geography. So I could literally like call the neighbors in a neighborhood. It wasn't alphabetical. It was by neighborhood. And so I would call and I would set up like 6 appointments a day. And then we would go into the neighborhood, lean a ladder up, like stick a sign in the front yard. He'd go to the top of the ladder. I'd go in the house and we'd clean. And some houses, if you got lucky, had like 2 chimneys, like one on one side and one on the other side. And you wouldn't even have to leave. You just go to the other side of the roof.
Right.
It was an amazingly interesting job and got us into all kinds of houses, and we met all kinds of people. And it was actually really cool. Never would have thought about it in a million years. And the only reason that he asked me to do it was because he heard that I was good on the phone, like booking appointments. And so he was like, I need someone who's got telemarketing experience. And I said, well, I do. And he was like, this is this gig, and would you be interested? And I was like, at $20 an hour? Yes. Sign me right up. So that's
fun.
It was, I mean, yeah, Doc, I think
it was nasty work, dude. It was awful, but it was a great learning experience. I had a lot of fun doing it.
Do you have a chimney? Me and Doc might be calling you.
Well, at this point, my chimney's gas. It's not actual wood any longer. It's got to be a wood stove or to be.
Well, we'll remember that. All right.
Oh,
And that is the sound of Two Truths and a Lie, the game where you give us two truths and a lie, and we're going to try to find your lie.
Two truths and a lie.
Just basically about things that you've done in your career.
Let's see. I got a job one time by pretending that I was a delivery guy and dropping off my portfolio at the mailroom when I couldn't get people paying attention to me. I got to name a Denny's breakfast, and I spent a summer as a mechanic working under cars.
Really?
Okay.
Wow, those are all so specific that I'm very impressed. All right, whichever one is the lie, I'm gonna be shocked either way.
We're gonna pick this apart, okay? He said he wanted to do he was doing mechanical engineering, working on cars while he was in school. So I believe that. I believe that he actually went through it that first summer, and then he was like, "Wow, this is a lot of manual labor. This is terrible."
Okay.
That does make sense. Can I ask you to elaborate on naming the Denny's breakfast?
No, because we don't know if that's the truth or not.
Well, are we allowed to ask questions?
I mean, okay.
Moons over my hammy.
What?
Moons over my hammy.
Moons over.
A breakfast dish. I'm slow. I'm not. I'm not on the same.
Like the actual things on the menu.
Did you
really
think he named the Denny's? Did you think he named Denny's?
Okay, that's what I was thinking about, and I was very confused. I was like, I don't think he named Denny's. Maybe he did because he's a really good brander, but who knows?
Here's what I'm thinking. I don't even. What was the first one again? I'm sorry.
The first one was that I once got a job by delivering my portfolio as though I was a mail guy, delivery guy.
Okay, that takes some guts.
All right. I know that one's also pretty impressive. If you've actually done that, I don't know if that's.
I can't answer that question because then it would wreck the whole thing, right?
I don't think that's the truth. I think that's the lie.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm gonna say the Denny's one. I think the Denny's one is a lie.
Okay, so I answer now, or do you guys have to come?
You tell us.
I was on the team that worked on Denny's, but I didn't actually name it myself.
Yes. What? Okay. So now
the best lie is a half truth.
You have to elaborate on that first one because that is actually insane.
So I wanted a job at the biggest advertising agency in St. Louis, which was DMB&B, and I could not get them to pay me any attention at all. And they were in a 20-story building right across the street from the St. Louis Arch, and security was kind of tight. So I went with 2 portfolios one day, and when everybody went in the morning rush and were like scanning their cards in, there was like 50 people that all went in at once. So I dressed like they dressed, and I went through security. You get arrested for this shit today, but at the time you could get away with it. And like I went in and got on the elevator, and I turned to the person next to me and I said, "This is my first day. Where's the mailroom?" And they said, "It's on 11." And I was like, "I don't have a key card yet." And they swiped me in. And so I walked up to the mailroom and I said, "I have a delivery for these 2 creative directors, and they have to be on the desk in the next 15 minutes. They're waiting for them." And like the guy came running out and he was like, "I'll take care of it," and ran. And so he went, and I got back on the elevator and went home.
That's really? That's something out of like the movies.
Did you ever?
I'm picturing like Transformers, Sam Witwicky running around the mailroom trying to get.
I got the job too, so it was worth.
You got the job? Did they ever figure out like after you got the
job? So it was kind of funny, but the way it worked, they sent a messenger back with my 2 portfolios a couple of hours later, and it was with this kind of fun note. I should have kept it, but I didn't. It was basically like, "Nice stunt, kid, like, go away." Right. And then 6 months later, I had my first job, and I went to go back to try again. And the guy that interviewed me got all the way through the interview, told me that he was going to hire me, did the whole 9 yards. And then as I was walking out of his office, he said, "Oh, and by the way, that was a nice stunt." So he didn't break the entire time. Wow. Didn't break the entire time. Didn't let me know that he knew it the entire time. Nothing. And then as I'm walking out the door, he was like, "Hey, by the way, that was, basically that took some stones."
That's
like,
pretty
I mean, I'm
impressive.
sure that earned you a lot of respect with him.
I mean, the thing about that universe is that it's all about performance, right? So
Yeah.
the work that you create, like how you fill the blank page is what you're judged on. So that was like cute enough to get me in the door, but the second that I played that card was done, right? It's like
Yeah.
playing a chance card Monopoly. Like, yeah, okay, I had the get out of jail free card and I played it. And now that get out of jail free card is gone and I got to start back at zero all over again. And but that was okay. Like that was cool with me. It got me in the door and it got me a job and it got me on, working for Blockbuster Video, which was really cool at the time. And it was like awesome. And I was super excited about it. And I was, 20 nothing years old. And I was sitting on the 15th floor of this massive building overlooking the Mississippi River. And then like, it was a real job, it was like a real job with a real group of people. Like it was awesome.
That's awesome.
I think you should write a book. I think you should invest the time writing a book. If you haven't already, have you?
I'm working on one now, actually.
Okay. Well,
Called it.
I'll buy it. I'll buy it. Especially if you're more
You guys,
skills like
you
that.
guys have to follow me on TikTok first before they shut it down.
Well, I don't have TikTok, so
No,
I'm
no.
sorry. If I had it, I would. All right, I'm just saying.
All right then.
So, how was being a mechanic for a summer?
Oh, it was fun. That was one of the most fun summers I ever had. That was great. Yeah.
Wow.
Really good people with really great stories from a totally different like part of the universe than I was from.
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
That's like night and day difference from what you do now.
Yeah.
Like
But I'm still like my happy place is under a car. Like if before I die, I'll build one from scratch. Like I'll build a Heathkit car from scratch. It'll be a lot of fun.
So, how many cars do you have? I'm curious.
Now, I only have mine, but there are 4 in the house. I have 3 kids.
All right.
15, 17, and 13. So it was only funny. He's got a Jetta. And then, we have a Tahoe that everybody can jump in when we need to take everybody everywhere. And then my wife's got a car.
Well, that's awesome. Oh, it's time for some rapid fire questions.
All right, rapid fire. I'm ready.
All right. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Mint chocolate chip.
Favorite movie?
Unfair question. I'd have to go with Back to the Future series.
Favorite fictional dog?
Old Yeller.
Favorite book?
Anything by Ayn Rand.
Can you swim?
Yes.
Would you rather have no arms or no legs?
No legs.
Favorite pastime?
Reading.
Favorite drink?
IPA.
Do you like pie?
The number or the thing you eat?
The thing you eat.
Yes.
What's your favorite flavor of pie?
Cranberry.
Does pineapple belong on pizza?
No. Unless sriracha's also on it, and then I'll make an exception.
What's the name of this podcast?
I have no earthly clue.
Wow.
Is water wet?
Is water wet? Oh, such a great question. The answer is no.
Oh, you're wrong.
It makes things wet, but it
No,
is
water.
not wet.
Okay. But if you pour a glass of water into another glass of water, then that water is wet. Therefore, water is wet because in just natural everyday circumstances, water.
You have given this way more thinking than it really requires.
Well, listen, this was a whole argument with me and my friend group a couple weeks ago.
That's funny. I think Finnegan went through the same argument. It must be the thing making the rounds.
Listen, I'm just saying, water is wet.
Water is wet. All right, I'll let him know you thought that.
I don't know. It seems like something that's kind of could be either way, really.
No, it's wet. And if you try and argue with me, you're wrong.
Is there a definitive answer, though?
Yes.
I don't think that there is, because I think the fact that water droplets are on something makes it feel like it's wet, but it doesn't actually make it wet. It's just that there are so many microscopic droplets that we perceive it as wet. So that was the big debate. So is it really wet, or is it just that there's so much water on it that you get the sensation of wet?
Gotcha.
All right. So by his logic, though, water makes things wet. If I pour a glass of water into a bowl of water, all the water in the bowl is now wet.
No.
Yes.
It's hard to argue with dry water. I'll grant you that.
I mean, I'm just saying,
Nice.
by your logic, I can make any water wet.
You have more determination for this topic than I care to argue.
Doesn't he, though? I mean, he's kind of dug in.
Okay. By the way,
Yes.
Bill, the name of the podcast is Youth Force Chronicles.
Youth Force Chronicles.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You should listen to it whenever it comes out.
I will.
You should.
I will.
I think we have one episode out from a few weeks ago with Natalie Rose. That was a fun one.
Awesome. How many episodes have you all done?
So this is my second one.
Okay.
This is let's see, I did a couple in the beginning of the series. So I would say this is like my 4th or 5th episode.
He's like a vet.
Been
here, pro.
Yeah. I mean,
You're in the presence of greatness.
he could have fooled me.
Now he's all high up on the water as wet wind. He's like, we can't even deal with him now for the rest of the podcast. He's off the table.
Are you talking about me?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
you can just leave. We can continue.
That's it. We've got this.
Listen, guys. Just because you're wrong doesn't mean you have to poop me out. I'm just saying.
I'm
just saying.
Okay.
I will say, I want to ask you some deeper questions. All right. What keeps you motivated?
Achievement.
Elaborate.
A lot of people are in it for money, but money is just a way to keep score. Purpose is the thing that keeps you driven. So when you set goals for yourself, it's like, okay, I want to see if I can achieve this, or I want to see if I can learn to do that, or I want to see if I can master this skill. And those little mini things are what keep you going. Happiness is fleeting. Happiness is like in a moment and then it's gone. So progress is really the thing that keeps you going. If you sort of seek happiness all the time, you're going to be really frustrated because happiness it's like a firework. Like you can't contain it. It's just a thing that happens and then it's done. But progress is something that you can feel and measure and be excited by continuously. So if there's a new skill or if there's a new goal that I want to hit or there's a new client that I want to try to land, those things all become little micro goals that are all in my universe. And, it can be anything from as simple as I want to see if I can hit the gym 4 times this week to I want to make sure that I have time to go to dinner with my daughter to I want to see if I can land 6 new business clients this month. Those little micro promises and goals give you something to push against, and they give you a way to kind of measure your achievement and the time that you spend. Otherwise, you can waste an awful lot of it.
Wow. That sounded very philosophical.
That was a lot to take in, but yeah,
I agree though.
I mean,
yeah, like tomorrow, if you guys decided something for yourself and you were like, hey, I'm going to do this one thing and I'm going to see if I can do it in 1 week, you would start thinking about like, how can I find a way to get there? How can I find a way to do that? A lot of people talk about that as like manifesting or visioning or whatever, and all that's fine. I mean, whatever term I think works for you is the one that works for you. But if you say you're going to do something and you write it down on a piece of paper and you hold yourself to it, you'll fall in love with that. Like you'll be like, oh, you know what? That actually was really like, I liked having a little goal. I liked having a thing that I was trying to achieve, and then I did it. And then I wanted to see if I could do it again. My favorite quote from Steve Jobs is, I pushed the universe and it moved, and I was so surprised. I pushed it again to see what would happen next. And I love that as a philosophy of life, because in essence, what he said was like, I did this little thing and something remarkable happened. So I did something small again to see what kind of a change it could be. And he just sort of fell in love with this idea of, if I keep pushing, what'll happen next? And I think a lot of people spend time waiting, but instead just give yourself little goals. They don't have to be, I'm going to climb Mount Everest. Like that's a lot. Just make them little things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that works.
Yeah. I like that.
Works well.
It's not, saying that you have to have all of your plans made out, but you just have those little goals throughout the week.
And you wouldn't believe how much you can achieve. Like, and not just that, but that you're aware of the fact that you achieved it.
Yeah.
I think whenever there are a lot of smaller things, you get those achievements more, and it feels more rewarding than if you were to do one big thing versus 10 smaller things throughout the rest of the week. I think even though the product may be larger, you would still feel more rewarded from doing all of the other projects that really builds up over time.
Yeah. Doc,
Builds
I think
confidence.
Doc, I think that was your first and last philosophical moment.
Okay, way to ruin the mood.
You dug in deep, and I mean, like, that was awesome.
Thank you. I do my best.
Okay, so I do have to, a less serious thing I gotta pick your brain about is
Okay.
you said pineapple belongs on pizza if there's sriracha involved.
Yes.
I know we kind of just skated past that, but I think that's very
I
important.
think that's the most like vile thing I've
I
ever
don't
heard.
know. I'm for it.
Have you
It's
ever
good.
tried it?
It sounds amazing.
It's just like the thought of pineapple and sriracha together that ruins it for me.
You have so much to learn, my young Padawan. It was seriously like a surprise to me that it was as good as it was, but it was actually delicious.
I've always seen those like videos of the really fancy pizzas in New York and like all over the place, but I'm very simple.
Yeah.
I like a plain and simple margarita pizza. You leave it at that. You don't mess with
plain
it.
and simple margarita pizza.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, margarita pizza is kind of like the yellow pencil, right? Like it's safe, it's a go-to.
yeah, it's a good option. 90% of places do it really well. Do you know what's on that?
I think so, but now I'm thinking not so much.
I
because
wanna-
you guys
I
are like, oh, that's pretty standard. I'm like,
I want to know what you think is on that.
nope.
No. What
Not going there, man. Not giving it to it.
It's just is it just like a
That's funny.
regular cheese pizza
Go,
or something?
Doc, just go order one. Just you can't
Okay,
explain it, man.
maybe
If you
I
try to
can.
explain it, it's gonna just fall flat. Just go order yourself one.
I've tried it once, and it tasted really good, but it tasted different. Like
And that's kind of the
it's the
point.
first time I've. Is this normal? Like, am I the only one that's out of the loop here?
Listen, you don't want to be outside the circle of knowledge, man. You need to get inside the circle.
See,
Go get
now
yourself.
we're doing this thing. Where
I
you
need to
guys
go do
were
my
on-
pizza research now.
Well, I'll give you a good place to start that's local. 1,000 Degrees Pizza over there next to Dos Bros. Oh, best
I've
pizza
tried
in
it.
town.
It's not bad.
It's the best pizza in town.
Nice.
Don't.
Okay.
You probably think Domino's is better.
Are you
No.
take that back right now?
I'm not taking that back.
That's
I
Domino's is
refuse.
sprayed cardboard. It's not good. And
Okay.
besides, I'm from Chicago. You should know Chicago has real pizza.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
we
is
can't
deep
really
dish-
argue about
Are
pizza.
you a deep dish kind of guy?
Chicagoan.
Oh, you're wrong.
You're one of those people
Okay.
that puts the cheese and then the sauce on top, right?
Doesn't it go meat, cheese, sauce?
It does.
Yeah.
It's like flipped around.
And then it's like a pie, basically.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, if you get Chicago deep dish, like it's a one and done. Like if you finish two pieces, you're in it to win it.
I will say, me and my dad made a deep dish pizza one time, and it was really good.
Yeah.
I will give you that. It's not the worst kind of pizza.
No, I mean, if you're like a New York thin person, it's a weird transition, right?
I do really like that, like thin, crispy crust.
Yeah.
It's on point. You can't ever go wrong with it.
You sound like you're in the right place with 1,000 Degree Pizza, though.
Oh, absolutely.
I do
It's-
know.
it's-
It's pretty good.
They have like one of those nice wood ovens in the back, and they just. It's awesome.
It is very fun.
So, Bill, do you have any questions for us?
You have with you somebody who has spent 35 years in business transitioning for 600 clients. I think the better question is there anything that I can be answering for you about the transition from high school out or life transitions or anything else? You guys are at the most
Good point.
interesting jump off point.
Okay, so I do have a question. I will be attending Tennessee Tech starting in the fall.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and I'm just curious what you think would be like the best plan for me? Like how is transitioning from high school to college?
Well, so what is the major that you're focusing on, or are you just tackling gen eds first to get them out of the way?
I'm doing live audio production.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I told you this.
So live audio production is going to be a lot more practice than theory. So any school that you're in that's going to get you behind the board and get you working on stuff is going to be to your advantage for sure. But that's
they will get me behind the board pretty quickly, and I also do have experience running a soundboard with the Boys and Girls Club and with my church. So
nice. And it sounds to me like you're on a good path, man. The more time you can get, just every single human being in your universe is a potential network. So make friends with every human being that you can, because you have absolutely no idea when this is what I learned as an adult. Every piece of knowledge you come in contact with and every person you come in contact with are useful. You just don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, okay, well, I met this person this one time, or I learned this fact this one time. And then years later, when you've forgotten all about one or the other, they pop up and you're like, oh, here's how I can use that.
Of course, yeah.
Networking is one of my biggest things that I try and do anywhere I go. Is I always want to try and talk to people and get people's contact information if I think that it could be beneficial for later on.
Yeah, you just have no idea where it's going to go.
Why are you snickering?
I don't know. That seemed like one of the weirder ways to word that.
What do you mean?
I every single time I meet someone new, I try and get their contact information.
Well, if it's beneficial for me, then yeah, absolutely.
Well, the bigger thing is if it can be beneficial for them. And that, I think that's the biggest transition, is when you start realizing that you don't know when you're going to be useful to somebody else. And when you start thinking about it that way, it makes the networking thing a lot easier.
Of course, yeah.
It's almost like he does this. He knows a thing or two.
Might have been around the block once or twice.
I was wondering, going off of that, been around the block once or twice, what are some of the cooler places you've worked for, or some of the bigger branding jobs that maybe us or some of our listeners might know?
That's an awesome question.
Anheuser-Busch, Denny's, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Lumi Deodorant is one that we're working with now. You probably see her on television all the time.
Yeah.
I've actually never heard of them.
We've worked with car manufacturers and shirt manufacturers. White House Black Market, years ago I worked with them. Red Hot and Blue, which is a barbecue place. Western Sizzlin'. Chesapeake Bagel Bakery. Lots of places. I mean, lots and lots of them over the years.
So as far as like the branding goes and those types of things, like what do you do really? Do you create advertisements, or do you do more of like the maybe website design, or designing the logos, or just like go a little more into depth on like what a typical job or commission would look like?
So we typically do strategy down through all marketing materials. So television, radio, outdoor boards, print, digital advertising, video, etc. We do pretty much all of it. The thing that we focus on are businesses that are growth minded, that don't know what story to tell. So the strongest brands in the world are ones that stand for one thing. So like Eddie Murphy is just funny, and Mercedes is just about luxury. So businesses that will do just one thing, or personalities, people that will just focus on one particular thing, are the ones that get the momentum and reputation. And that's what we perceive as brand. So it's like, instead of trying to be, here's an easy way to think about it. If you wanted a great steak, would you go to a steakhouse or a buffet?
Steakhouse.
Right. Yeah, of course. But most businesses try to act like a buffet.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see them, they're like, well, I do this, but I also do this, and I do this, and I do this, and I do this. And that confuses people. So instead, for brands, they are strongest when somebody comes in and they say, I just do this and I do it really well. But a lot of times they get confused about what that should be. So my job is to help them figure out which thing they should stand for, and then help them build the messaging that helps people know that that's the thing that they stand for.
Yeah, that's good.
Well,
it's about the easiest that I can make it.
So you mentioned all those like cool brands and a lot of them that I personally haven't heard of, but sound really awesome. If you had to rank like a top 5, what would you put it?
Right now, I'm working with a group called Red Chocolate, which is a sugar-free chocolate, and the guy that runs it, Glenn, is maybe my favorite human being right now on the planet. He's like the most energetic, and I told him this in a meeting the other day, like he is just big smile, huge energy, like super excited about chocolate, and he's up against, M&M, Mars, and
Yeah.
Hershey, and like all the rest of them, all of whom use sugar in their chocolate.
Yeah.
And so it's this fantastic experience to kind of help them get this brand. I mean, they're big already, they're multi-million, but they want to like go mega million. And so it's really fun to help them figure it all out. So we just designed a new logo for their packaging. We just came up with a new idea for their whole brand strategy, and it's going to be really fun.
That sounds incredible. Yeah, I
I
mean,
love
cool.
chocolate.
so how do you help them? Do you help them, or do you have like a team?
Yeah,
And
all
you're
of us
the
all of us
CEO?
work together on it. So, my team is 16 people. Some of them are account service people and they manage the relationship, and some of them are research people and they go gather the information from consumers to figure out what they like and don't like and how they feel about stuff. And some of them are creative people that develop the work, and some of them are media people that buy where the work goes. So all those people work together to bring this in. And so each of those folks has a different discipline.
So are you like the CEO of the company?
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's Oh yeah, your company. I looked this up earlier. It's a Brand Boss, right?
Yeah, BrandBossHQ.
Yes, I saw a lot of I there's a whole lot of text there. I didn't get to see a whole lot about you, but I think that it's cool. I like
I'm
that.
not really relevant. It's like you only care about a thing when it will serve you, and that's one of the big things that you realize in life. Like nobody cares about the hammer and nail unless they want to hang a picture on the wall. And the minute that the picture's on the wall, they don't care about the hammer and nail anymore. That's all of us, right? We're all there to serve somebody else's need to move forward. So the whole point is how quickly can you figure out where you are the most of service? And you might be the most of service writing websites, and you might be the most of service being a doctor, and you might be the most of service changing tires. But wherever it is that you have your greatest service to people, that's where you're supposed to be. That's where you belong.
Yeah.
So basically, find where you click in the best and roll off of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard someone tell me once that if you do what you love, you'll grow to hate it. But if you do what you're good at, you'll grow to love it. And so it's an interesting thing because I never realized how much those two things kind of conflict, things that you're good at with things that you love. Because there are some things that are just like a hobby, you really love to do them, but other things that you're really good at but don't particularly like to do them. And so I think it's a very interesting thing because um, I took a job mostly along those lines of trying to do what I'm better at instead of like my passion, what I want to do, my hobby, and I'm really growing to enjoy it. It's a really fun experience.
What is your hobby? I'm just curious.
I play the keys, man.
Play.
I do music. Yes.
Wow. All right. You're a piano man.
Yeah, I wanna branch out eventually, but I like where I am right now. I'm making electrical design for large businesses, so it's pretty fun.
You will never be bored if you can figure out how you can move other people forward.
Of
Ever.
course, yeah.
As long as you know that you're helping somebody achieve their goal, you will always be liked and appreciated and have use.
All right. So, what do you feel like your greatest service is?
Helping people figure out what story to tell. That's their biggest thing because they get real confused about it. And I have objectivity because it isn't my story. Right?
Yeah.
So we refer to that as trying to read your own label from inside the jar, right? When you're inside trying to tell your own thing, you've got all these thoughts in your head and you're in the swirl. And I don't have any of the swirl. I just see it for what it is because I'm on the outside of it. So I listen to somebody explain what it is that they're trying to achieve and where they're excited and where they're most profitable and where they really love doing what they're doing. And I'm like, okay, position it like this, talk about it this way. And if I can get somebody down to a single sentence that expresses what they like to do, then they can grow their business or their entity very quickly.
That's very interesting. I didn't think about that part of branding, how you need to just like develop relations with the customer specifically and just really like question them on what they want. And then really, because I don't think people think about it that way a lot of times. Like, what do I really want? They just say, oh, I would like this, and I would like this, and I would like this. And until you ask them, like, what is your goal? What is your main goal? What are you trying to achieve? They don't really like step back and look at it like that, and just a specific goal that they're trying to achieve. And like, so it's very interesting.
I'm really curious, how do you get brands to figure out what their main goal is or what their like brand is?
I don't. I have them tell me everything that's in their head. I just have them for 2 hours just go blah.
So
right?
you just pick their brain.
And then once I have all that, I get rid of all the fluff that isn't going to do anything. And then I sit down and say, okay, so here's the one thing that's important. And just to give you some context, you guys are all familiar with Disney, of course. Disney's purpose statement, the thing that they talk about internally that kind of rallies all their people is we want to recapture the magic of childhood, right? So it's this insanely simple thing that's like that wide-eyed wonder that we have when we're little kids and we see life-size Mickey Mouse the first time, we're like, wow, right?
Yeah.
Like they want to have that feeling over and over and over and over again. So they try to weave that into everything that they're doing. And the way that they express that to the world is we have the happiest place on earth. So the promise out to the world is a little different than the thing that they do, but they can make the happiest place on earth if they constantly strive to do something that recaptures that excitement and that, like we're not just going to do a ride, but we're going to do a ride that does this and goes here and is like, interesting this way. And that gets people super excited. So they don't ever put, you'll never see like a soccer field at a Disney, right? Is that about childhood? Yeah. Was it exciting that way? No. So it's like, yeah, it checks the box of childhood, but it doesn't check the box of surprise and delight.
So yeah, because their whole thing is magic, happiness. They bring the joy back to what might be a bland adult life.
Yeah.
Do you have any like tactics for shaving off all of the unnecessary bits and getting to a main goal?
Yeah, but it would be easier to do it with context, right? Like if somebody said, I really like doing this, but I also like doing that and that and that, it's easier in that situation to say, here's why this thing is important.
Okay.
If that makes sense. It's hard to talk about it in abstract.
It's kind of like an in the moment thing where you pick apart what the fluff is, and it just depends on what the brand or the people give you.
Yeah. So, being in this for your entire career, like, do you have any advice that you would give to someone also wanting to pursue a career in branding or advertising?
Try everything and fail harder. Like, truly, like there is, I think that the word failure is such a mistake. You're either learning or you're succeeding. There's no failure. Like I heard a comedian say this and it really cracked me up. Nobody ever says to a toddler, like, it looks like you're not a walker because you fell down. Like, I'm really sorry, but you're just going to have to scoot on the ground for the rest of your life. Like, we don't think about it that way. But by the time we're teenagers, we have it in our head that we're supposed to be able to do it right. And those two concepts, should and right, are devastatingly limiting to our growth because it makes us worried about looking silly in front of somebody or failing. The people who are the strongest are the ones who don't care about failure at all. I wrap up in it. I fail all the time and I want to fail more. I want to fail faster and I want to fail more often and I want to fail bigger because every time I fail, I learn something. And that thing makes me better at what I'm doing the next time I'm doing it. And if you can just be willing to say, I don't care if somebody else sees me fail. And it's okay. It is 110% okay that they see me fail. And I've had some colossal ones, And that's okay. That's how you learn. That's how everybody learns. That's how everything and everyone on the planet learns. So when you take that away from yourself and you say, oh, well, I'm only going to do stuff I'm good at, or I'm only going to do stuff that's safe, you basically cut yourself off from growth.
Mm-hmm. Failure is the first step to success. Like some of the,
I was gonna say that.
some of the people that have achieved the biggest success have failed more than anyone else. Like
not some, every one of them.
Everyone.
yeah,
Every single one of them. The difference
same guy
between
that dropped out of high
the
school.
difference between success and stagnation, I wouldn't say failure. I don't believe in failure, but the difference between not moving, not doing anything, I stay on my couch, I'm safe, and the Jeff Bezoses of the world is willingness to fail.
Being ready to accept that failure is a part of growing and succeeding.
Yeah.
Because everyone's going to fail. No one's perfect. It's bound to happen eventually. It's more of just a win rather than will.
Yeah. And you're not going to get to do everything that you think you are going to do. When I went to college, in my first semester, I had a teacher pull me aside and he said, I can tell by the way that you look at high theoretical math that you'll never be an engineer. And I was crushed. I was like, oh my gosh, what are you talking about? And he was like, yeah, he said, you're tenacious enough that you might become an engineer, but you'll never be a good one. And the reason that you won't be a good one is because you don't get math in motion. And I was like, no, I don't. And he said, and you won't, because you either see it or you don't. And he's like, I have 6 PhDs and I can do everything, but I can't do physics. He said, there's something about the way physics math moves that doesn't make sense to me. And he goes, and I've tried and I just can't do it, so I don't do it. But I've got PhDs all around it. So I do other things with my time and energy, but I don't focus on that because there are people who just get it musically, like just they hum it in their head and they just get it. Yeah. And he was like, I can't see the world through that lens. And it was one of the best things that ever happened, having him tell me that. And it wasn't the only time that I had somebody that helped me make a course correction. I was like, okay, I can either continue to beat my head into a rock for the next, X 7 semesters and then graduate with something that I'm not really going to be passionate about because I just forced my way through it. Yeah. Or I can accept that maybe there's another way to do it. And if I hadn't changed, I would never have been on this amazing path that I'm on that has given me 5 companies and like all of this excitement and all of this energy and these awards and like all the rest of this stuff. And all of that came from being willing to say, okay, well, I was wrong about that. I was wrong about that choice or that direction or whatever. Let me see what else I can do.
Yeah. So from learning all of this stuff that you know now and being in this career for as long as you have been and with all the things you know now and that you've accomplished, my final question, I guess, would be if you could go back in time and tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
Stop worrying on what everybody else thinks because that opinion doesn't matter. Just learn. Just learn. You guys are going to come out of school and I promise you on some level, you're going to be like, I'm never picking up another book. I'm never going into another class. Like if I have to learn one more thing, I'm going to like choke somebody and all that's fine. And you're supposed to feel that way for something. And then what's going to happen if you're lucky is that you'll fall in love with learning again because it'll be on your terms. And what'll happen is you'll say, oh, I'm really interested in X, whatever X is. And I started reading about it and it became really fascinating. Like I read, 15 books a year and like I can't get enough because every time I read something, it doesn't matter what I read, I learn something. And that little teeny jigsaw puzzle piece fits like way out here somewhere and it makes a connection. And then you go, I never thought about it that way. Okay, now I've got that point of view in my head. And you go on and you go on. And then years later or days later or months later or whatever, for some reason, that thing becomes something to know, something you can comment on, something whatever. And it's like it becomes useful. So it's just a totally different way of looking about it than when it's on a syllabus and you're responsible for knowing it and someone's going to quiz you on it. Like that's different. This is for the joy of knowledge. And that's a really profound transition.
That's, of course, yeah.
That's an awesome way to put that, actually.
Back with the philosophical statements.
Dude, you listening to like your story and how you've come about things has been the highlight of my week.
That's it. That's all I needed. Thank you, gentlemen. Have a great night. Like, I'm not, well, you can't end on a higher note than that.
I mean, like that, just because, well, hearing everything that you've done, all the different paths that you've tried, the just brutal honesty that you faced when talking to a professor, it's kind of eye-opening, because that's something that I might encounter coming up on
I hope you
college,
do.
up on whatever the future holds for me.
I'm actually super jealous every time I meet somebody that's your age, because to go back and do it again, like, I don't get me wrong, I don't miss high school. I don't think anybody really misses high school, but
ready to be done.
when like, you have the whole canvas in front of you, right? Like, the excitement, you can go, like, the canvas is so big and there's no lines on it. There's nothing blocking you from any of it. Like, you can go anywhere. You can go left or right or up or down. Like, you guys have the entire canvas to explore. And that's just so cool. When you get older, I'm mid 50s. By the time I'm here, there are things I'm good at, things I'm not good at. Like, I've solved half the canvas.
Yeah.
But you guys haven't solved any of the canvas yet. Like, you're still trying to figure it out. So, like, it's so exciting to watch you guys at your age kind of go out and start dealing with it. And if even one person hears this podcast and is like, I'll be a little less fearful of judgment, or I'll be a little less fearful of trying something new, or I'll be a little less fearful about maybe leaving my hometown to go to see what college is all about, or whatever. It's like, once you realize that, like, if you can get to a place where you're comfortable with, hey, let's just see, the difference between what is and what if is the difference between a life well lived and a life on the couch. Like, just asking yourself, well, what if I did this? What if I did that? Like, let's just see. You won't believe what you get out of it.
Well, that's incredible. But with that question, that wraps up our show today. I am Doc, and this is the I'm going to redo that. I'm Doc, and this is the Youth Force Chronicles. I'm joined by my co-host,
Bryson,
and our special guest,
Bill Harper.
Yes. And today we learned about really believing in yourself, and after all the rejection and what most people would call failure, learning from it and really taking that to different levels, and really using that to your advantage and to build your overall
prowess.
Yes, yeah. Thank you. Well, thank you for listening, and follow us on our Instagram and Facebook, and anything that you would like to plug as well.
Nope. We're all good. If you want to see more of this kind of thing, join me at BrandBossHQ on your social media platform of choice.
All right. Thank you very much. We will catch you next time.
Are you ready?